What is going on, everybody? Tasty Mond. Finally, the DLC for Elden Ring has been announced. It's coming out on the 21st of June, and unfortunately for people like myself, it's coming out on the same day as Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance that was also just announced today. I'm honestly in quite a dilemma here. I don't even know what to do. I think Atlas need to bring that game forward by at least a couple of weeks or something, because I've already decided I probably am going to play Elden Ring DLC on day one. It's kind of got priority for me. But there is a couple of things I wanted to discuss in making this video today, and it's mainly to do with the price points of the DLC here. Now, I've played Dark Souls games since the original. I never started with Demon Souls. I did go back and play that back in the day though, but I started with Dark Souls 1, and I do have to say that when it comes to the DLCs for Dark Souls games in general, I have found them some of the more better DLCs that I've ever played. To this day, Artorias of the Abyss is probably in my top 5 DLCs that I've ever played. But mainly I'm wondering, is this DLC going to be worth $40 in itself? It seems to me like they've got quite a lot of balls to charge that for like a DLC. It's not a standalone DLC. You still need the base game in order to play it. But when it comes to Elden Ring in general, like my opinion of it is like, I do think Elden Ring is a pretty good game. Like no question there. But there is aspects of the game that I think are pretty bad. Overall, like the bloated content that's in the game, like there's a lot of reskinned bosses, which is honestly one of my number one problems of it. I can genuinely say that Elden Ring is the only Souls game I've ever played where I was burned out of it while I was still playing it and no even finished. I've never done another playthrough of the game since it first came out. There's a lot of people that only play these games in this day and age though, like they will be constantly playing Souls games until the next one is out. It's their favourite type of game that exists. That's definitely not me, never really was. I've always absolutely loved this series though. I know my opinion is probably in the minority when it comes to Elden Ring and how I feel about it there. But that's probably only because I've played this series for 10 plus years and I've seen the series evolve. I've also seen it devolve in some areas, and I genuinely thought we were past just a bunch of reskinned bosses and, you know, the same kind of dungeons that were in Elden Ring. I loved the main stuff that was in the game, but that stuff I could take it or leave it if I'm being brutally honest about it. And I'm really hoping that the DLC is not going to follow the same path of just having a bunch of reskinned bosses, but I actually do think it will. I think the main stuff will still be great though, but do we really think that'll be worth $40? It's hard to say. This is one of the most expensive DLCs I think I've ever seen. It almost kind of feels like a mini sequel in a way, and I kind of wanted to get an opinion on what you guys think about that. It actually does feel like it might be Elden Ring 1.5 in a way, and if so, is that probably worth $40 alone? I think for a lot of people that probably started on games like Dark Souls 3 or maybe even Bloodborne, they've already like bought this DLC already. And there's no really much to say about it and question about it, but for people that have maybe played it since games like Dark Souls 1 or even Demon Souls, are you guys still honestly as enthusiastic as you used to be back then about the series? I mean, I used to be absolutely in love with this series, and I can honestly say no as much anymore. I kind of like don't enjoy seeing the quest system still being exactly the same as it used to be. There's no evolution there for some of the mechanics that are in Elden Ring. But nonetheless, I'm basically just wondering if $40 is like too much for a DLC. It's really hard to say. I've never bought a DLC that's this price, but I'm probably going to do it for the first time ever. $40 for a DLC, take it or leave it. I think for like 8 out of 10 people, they're probably already buying it and it's going to be worth. At the end of the day, the Souls games have a good track record for DLC. It's no like it's hidden DLC that was getting made on day 1 or day 0 where you pre-order it for a bonus. This was made after the game came out, so it's probably going to be an enjoyable experience. There is one other thing that's happening with this DLC I've saved for the last thing to talk about here, and I genuinely hate this. I don't think there's anything good to say about it. Maybe for like crazy fans it's absolutely amazing, but I think for gaming in general it's a bad thing. And that is that they're creating a collector's edition for the DLC on its own. And I just think this is bad for the game industry. If they can get away with creating a collector's edition for DLCs, just think about what's probably going to come in the future. I mean, we already have bad things happening, like getting early access to games for buying a digital deluxe version of the game, and I absolutely hate this. And now we're getting collector's editions for DLCs. What's it going to be next? Because I never even thought they would think about doing something like this, but here it is. But nonetheless, is this DLC going to be remembered as one of the best Souls experiences ever? Maybe. Or is it going to be seen as one of the things that Miyazaki actually didn't want to do in the first place? I guess we'll all need to wait and see what happens. Is it worth that $40 though? Let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one.